Let's talk a little bit about our topic today. We're going to be talking about your 1995, and I want to pick off kind of where we left off in January. You had been relieved of your duties by Vince McMahon twice in 1994, but you end the year by returning to, I guess, what might be considered a major power position. You're going to be helping Vince produce and write television. In practice, what does that look like in early 1995? I mean, we've heard stories like, oh, we'd go over to Vince's house or we'd book by the pool. What was it like in early 95?
About the same. Everything was spun around him and his schedule and his timeline. So it was hectic, to be nice about it, because Vince would take phone calls the meeting, and I understand why. I mean, he's running the whole company. He's approving everything from T-shirt logos to pay-per-view cards and graphics and acquisitions and all that. Looking over the payroll after I finished it, when I hoped I finished it. Sometimes they would tweak it, but it was just all his purview. So it was a little unorganized. It just put more on my plate. I stayed very busy, which I did like, and I learned a lot working that closely with Vince. I could book a territory right now if I was so motivated. I'm not, by the way. So the business has changed so much, guys. Wrestlers have lawyers and agents, which I applaud. They need help because these same agents will guide them along financially. Okay, here's our your quarterly tax paying. You're not an employee. You're an independent contractor, and there's a whole different set of rules for that. I've talked to guys that got in tax trouble that didn't know that they had to pay quarterly taxes. What? Oh yeah, where's your tax bill? How are you paying the government for living here? So it was challenging, but boy, I did learn a lot. And the only negative, I guess the thing about it was he would get so many phone calls. He had a speakerphone out there by the pool, and so but he wouldn't hardly turn down a call. I don't think so. That was distracting. But if he came ready to go and had his pads on, it was it was always a fun session. So it was interesting to say the least. It was I did it was I thought it would be more like working with Cowboy in the Mid South days. But Bill was very organized and didn't take any calls during our booking meetings because he'd bring in his booker, who it was, Ernie Ladd or Bill Dundee or Ken Mantell, whomever it may be, was we were uninterrupted, and the meetings didn't last all day. I mean, I've been in booking meetings with Vince that lasted for the day, and one of the highlights of that whole day thing was there was a little deli right down the road in Greenwich from Vince's house, and one of us would run and get the food. Write a little note here. So I like doing it because I could have a smoke on the way. Uh, so anyway, I had to get used to his rhythm. Vince's or his rhythm. And once I plugged into it, things went along pretty decent. Because we needed help. We needed somebody to get hot. And same as Tony Khan, we picked Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Let's talk about those booking meetings. With Vince, who else would be involved in that? What did the creative team look like in early 95?
They looked sleepy. No, Baruch was in them
Yep.
more often than not. Pat Patterson was in them more often than not because Pat pulled back from all of his administrative duties. He didn't do payroll. He didn't do all. He did help write TV, and after time went by, I did the booking of the live events, and Pat just did TV. So that settled things in a little bit because we all had a job and something to do that was important and had a deadline. When you do first run TV, man, the motor never stops. And if Vince is having a good day, then we all had a good day. If Vince was being interrupted too many times, or you got bad news on a phone call, or et cetera, then none of us had a good day. That's when you'd order lunch and dinner on 2 different trips at the little deli, because it was the closest thing to decent food, homemade bread. You know, Bruce and I loved it because we could eat what the hell ever we wanted. Patterson was the same, basically, but we all have bad eating habits, and we knew those days were going to be bitches, going to be tough, but it had to get done. And I remember many times where we were going the road, and we thought that TV was done, and then Vince would read it over a few times, decide he didn't like it. So when we flew into the TV town the night before the show, we went to his room to rewrite television that we thought we'd finished yesterday. So it could get frustrating, especially when you're in a creative mode. And the other thing about this is he'll say, well, I want so-and-so and so-and-so to wrestle or to have an angle or do an interview. Well, we'd look on our traveling information and they weren't booked. So all of a sudden now you're in a higher airplane ticket rate. There's no advanced purchase. Sometimes you get to TV and you say, oh shit, we didn't call this guy. So we had to get on the phone and call the guy who thought he had a day off and fly on day of into the TV town and do superstars and challenge and all that stuff. So it was just days before live. So, but it was interesting. I'm glad that little deli was just down the street.
Let's address a rumor from the newsletters at the time. There was speculation that you might actually become executive producer of Monday Night Raw. Was that ever actually in the cards? Did you spend time with Kevin Dunn, or is this all just rumor and innuendo from the?
It's rumor and innuendo, Connie. Kevin was Vince's right-hand man. And he told Kevin and I this to our face. You guys are the 2 most important guys in our company right now. It's all about talent and television. And talent was my area, and television was Kevin's. The look, the sound, production values, all that stuff. And he did a hell of a job. Vince couldn't have got anybody better than Kevin Dunn. And I worked with a lot of producers and executive producers. He's the most hands-on, most organized, and there was never any doubt in his part of the operation who was in charge. So if you wanted an answer that revolved around television, you had one guy that you could go to and get your question or your concern addressed. So no, but that was I never even heard that one. I know Vince has plans for me to ascend to a bigger role, but it had nothing to do with taking Kevin Dunn's place.
SaveWithConrad.com.
My name is Sergio. I'm from Lancaster in California. The motivation behind just following through with this refinance was I have a baby on the way. So just wanted to get everything in order. In the past couple of years, just afraid to pull the trigger, but then it just seemed like the right time to do it. I went to multiple banks, not only the mortgage I had, but then I went to you, and then I also went to several others. And it just seemed like your team, they were just completely honest and outright. Also, all the information was just laid out for me right there and then, answering all my questions in a timely, efficient manner. Diane was just so helpful and above and beyond accessible with texting and emails and just any information that they needed. She would explain to me what exactly they wanted me to send, and then if there were any issues, she was able to just resolve them pretty quickly, versus other companies that sometimes it would take a couple of days to get some information. We were looking to pay down some debt, also looking into making some improvements to the home, also build up our backyard, do everything, especially for our daughter coming. By doing this cash out, it's a good amount that we're saving, between $1,000 and $1,500 a month, I would say. It helped out tremendously as well. My name's Sergio. I'm from Lancaster, California, and I saved over $1,500 a month with SaveWithConrad.com.
NMLS number 2129, Equal Housing Lender. SaveWithConrad.com.